All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlie. Welcome back to Dreamcatchers. So today we have another interview. So can you really quick, Alex, give us a brief self-introduction? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, my name is Alex Feng, and I was born and raised in China. Came to the States for grad school, got my PhD from the University of Texas at Austin in computer sciences. And then upon graduation, I joined Microsoft, work on Windows core fundamentals as a performance analyst. And then I left Microsoft, joined an IT service company, went public on New York Stock Exchange. And I left that company 2 years later and joined my dissertation advisor back at UT Austin to start a company working on wireless sensor network, which provides wireless technology for oil refineries and industrial automation, which basically help oil refineries to find gas leakage, energy saving, equipment health, that kind of stuff. And then I spent several years in China, and the last job I had was, the previous job I had I was serving as the founding president for Suzhou Industrial Technology Research Institute. At that job post, I was in charge of about $1 billion to grow the high-tech industry for the city of Suzhou. So during those 3 years, I set up 24 institutes under the CG umbrella, and I came back to the States to reunite with my family. And right now, I have my own consulting company and providing business and technical services to partners.
Well, that's really impressive. It seems like there's a lot of everything going on. So can you help us break it down how you went from your high school self to through your college and then getting to where you are now?
I think my professional career or academic experience was quite abnormal. So my personality and my upbringing kind of formed me into that path because I was born and raised in a small city in China. So the only way I was able to go to cities like Shanghai was to go to a good school in Shanghai and find a job there. So at that time when I was at high school, my objective was crystal clear. The only way I was able to get out of my hometown is to become an excellent student, academically excel, and being able to get admitted to a great school in Shanghai or Beijing. So that goal was very clear at that time. But once I graduated from college in Shanghai, the world is really up to me to grab. So I had a very great job offerings in Shanghai. I was able to stay in Shanghai and have a very comfortable life. But instead, I thought, hey, why don't you go out, go abroad, go to the United States and see the rest of the world, see what it can do. So instead, I gave up a great job offering in Shanghai and devoted myself to a couple of years of English studying. I took the necessary exams, GRE, TOEFL, and basically left my family. I didn't know anyone in the States. I didn't have any relative in the States. Basically, I just been able to support myself, made enough savings to buy the ticket, come to the States with 2 big suitcases without knowing anyone, and the rest is history.
Oh, nice. Okay. So you mentioned your objective was really clear in your high school to get to as a top student. So how did you become a top student?
Well, I think that was a blessing, and also much of it is luck. So people are wired differently. I believe every person has different set of skills and talent. For me, it was lucky because academic to me was not difficult at all. I was easily, the top student, I was admitted to one of the top schools in China, even like got a waiver of college admission test. I didn't have to take any exams and got admitted. So that part was really luck. But later on, after you graduate, after you go to college, there are so many paths in front of you. So many different life objectives in front of you that totally up to you to pick, totally up to you to decide what you want to pursue. So not until my college times did I find like my own calling or my own personality. What do I really want to do? Looking back, I was not really a good fit for engineering type of jobs because I like to talk to people. I like to explore new things. I can be very adventurous. I'm not that type of person that can sit in front of a computer for 8 hours or whatever and really like committed and focused on the task at hand. Right? But of course, I paid my dues when I was a college student, when I was high school. I was very into computer science. I don't mind spending all of my time in front of a computer because computer at that time was a luxury good. Not everyone can afford to have a computer on a desk. So you have to really be a good student to earn that privilege to have access to a computer. So I valued that and I took advantage of it and make the best out of it. So I think some of my teachers really made a huge influence on me. They gave me some projects, very interesting projects at that time. So I was able to work on some real life applications projects when I was in college. And also I started teaching adults about computer skills. I was one of the best teachers. So I was able to articulate what I had in mind, being able to communicate that to adults. So that also helped me to find out like what I really want and also what I'm really good at. So looking back, my career is I'm always trying to gain new experience, but at the same time, my next job always leverage all the experience I had. For example, at Microsoft, of course, I had a PhD in computer science. I was working on operating system, so I went to Microsoft naturally. That was at that time was the only company that would make a commercial usage for operating systems. Linux is open source. I wouldn't be able to support my family if I worked for Linux. But then the IT service company that leveraged my Microsoft experience as an engineer, but also my community work at Microsoft. I was a board member for the Chinese Microsoft employees. I held a lot of career talks and career professional development activities among the Chinese employees. So I was well connected, and the IT service company hired me as a general manager to not only provide engineering services, but also being able to get exposed to managerial responsibilities. Then my dissertation advisor invited me to join him to start that startup because I had some business experience, even though limited business experience from the IT service company. Because most of my lab mates from college, grad school, they were professors, they were either went to academia. So I was kind of like differentiated myself. Not only I have some academic background, but also I have business background, I have engineering background. So that was enabled me to be a good candidate for my dissertation advisor to take me as a partner and as a CEO to develop a product for industrial automation.
Okay.
And the same thing goes on to the Suzhou Industrial Technology Research Institute because all of my experience combined. So I was among the one of the 600 candidates through a global recruiting effort. So I was picked the top person to become the founding president for that institute.
Oh wow! Okay. Yeah. So I know you mentioned like part of your personality is why you kind of got into more of the business side instead of academia. But I know a lot of students who are like interested in computer science are kind of in this middle of, do I go into academia or do I go into business? So what are your recommendations on that?
Well, I'm probably not very qualified to give advice to young people like you guys. You guys have, I think the young generation, like Charlie, you, I think have a much brighter future and more exciting future even than my generation. I think I enjoyed and I really cherish the opportunities I had. But the point is that as much as you can postpone that decision, deciding which path to take, I would recommend you to just enjoy what you have at the moment, the opportunities what you have at the moment, and also really dive into the computer science, your front line of computer science technology, because this technology, even though it has been there for 45, 50 years, but it's still new.
Sure,
It still revolutionizes the world day by day. I think we are definitely in a very lucky to be born in this generation and to be able to see all the different technologies even coming together. Right? Because when you talk about computer science, it's not just about computer science. It's probably computer science with medical, with drug discovery. It may be computer science applied into energy saving. Right? How do we solve the climate change? All these challenging problems that are facing humanity. That would be my recommendations.
Okay. Yeah, and you also mentioned like computer engineering and engineering as a whole. And I know that's another like area where the students are, do I go into computer science or computer engineering? So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, even though I graduated from the School of Natural Science and my major was specifically computer science, but I don't see much difference between computer engineering and computer science. As in computer engineering or computer science as an overall discipline, it's very unlike other pure science disciplines like physics or math, because computer science is a very practical discipline. It's meant to solve the practical problems in the world. Right? For example, natural language processing.
Yeah.
Right? Someone speaks the language, how can you use computer to solve that problem? So it's more targeted, more well-defined in comparison to physics. We're talking about gravitational wave. We don't really know the purpose or the usage of that discipline. But for computer science, it's already much better defined, and you have a better objective to achieve. So I wouldn't worry that much about the subtle difference between computer science and computer engineering. For me, it's just for the convenience of categorization. Right? One is natural science, another belongs to school engineering.
Okay. Yeah, and you mentioned how like there's a practical aspect of both computer science and computer engineering. And I was wondering, in your experience, and from a lot of other students, from just hearing, oh, I want to get into computer science versus what it's actually like on the job and what it's like in industry, how has your experience been with the jobs you worked and with the college you went to?
Yeah, it's a great question. My experience as a college student, even as a graduate student, most of my coursework and project I was working on is within a very small number of classmates, or even as a PhD student, I have to work on my dissertation a lot.
Yeah.
But in industry, companies like Microsoft, we worked on Windows as an operating system. Like when I was at Microsoft, we had 5,000 people working on the same project.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Right? So imagine the coordination, the communication, right? How do you lay out the timeline, make sure we deliver the product before the deadline we promised our customers? That's very different from what you learn in college.
Yeah.
And one more point is that when I joined Microsoft, Windows is already a well-established product. right? So you don't get to write a lot of new code. Mostly of the time is actually spent on understand the existing code and how do you make incremental change.
Okay.
Right. But in college, every time you just start a new project, right? You don't work on existing code, you don't read other people's code. So from that perspective, it's also very different.
Okay. And I think you're kind of touching on the question I'm about to ask, but what kind of skills do you say are smiled highly upon getting into this field of work?
I think one thing is is overrated is your programming skill.
Okay.
Everybody's thinking like going to computer science is you have great programming skill, that's enough. Of course, I mean it's a prerequisite. You definitely need to understand the basics of programming or certain language you're good at. But on top of that, to become a great engineer or great industrial person at a company like Microsoft, you also got to know how to work with other people.
Okay.
Because of the large number of people required working on the same project, right? So being able to communicate clearly, being able to coordinate, you have people leaving and joining this company or joining the team, right? How do you handle with the transition, right? And at the same time, also having that perspective from customers, because as an engineer or as a scientist, we're always excited about new features, right? The cool stuff, the most difficult stuff, right? But if it's not, that part is not appreciated or is not as urgent in customers' eyes, right? You won't be able to sell the product to the customer, right?
Yeah.
So prioritize and have the timeline to really look at the product from customer's perspective. Now, for example, how can I let my grandma to use this product?
Yeah, sure.
Right? Instead of just showing off, hey, grandma, this is something I did, whatever algorithms, have been using that. It doesn't matter that much to layperson out there on the market. I think that's also a great skill for young people, for STEM students to trying to sometimes step out of your comfort zone and look at the product from totally different perspective.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and another thing is, in your experience, what's been really challenging with getting in, not just like in your college experience, but also in your career experience?
I think one thing that's been challenging is, this industry is actually a very fast-paced, very fast-evolving industry. Right? So you never get content with what you already have. Because I got my PhD from one of the most prestigious universities. But when I joined Microsoft, I pretty much had to learn a lot of things, like starting from scratch.
Okay.
And I'm still learning a lot of new things. Right? When I joined IT service company, when I move on to Sichi, and even now, like right now, I'm having my own consulting company. Right? So keep learning, keep your eyes open. It always being have a solid foundation at school that helps you carry a long way. And I'm still grateful for the opportunities I have in terms of higher education. Right? That's what enabled me to work this long and carry me over. But at the same time, never stop learning. Because computer science is fast evolving. We didn't have any concept like quantum computing or Web3 blockchain, and AI wasn't that big. We didn't. Most of my classmates we didn't want to do AI at that time. So things change very fast. It's very exciting. So you need to always remain as a student, keep your eyes open and be curious, and then you can enjoy the fun.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit more about your consulting company?
So I'm running a consulting company right now. Part of it is to give me a flexibility in terms of my work schedule. I really value the time I spend with my family. And on the other hand, my consulting business can also help entrepreneurs like myself to get started. So I've been an entrepreneur myself, and I've made so many mistakes, and I've failed so many times. So those lessons learned, I want to be able to extend that to fellow entrepreneurs, and I don't want them. Of course, I mean every entrepreneur is gonna to make one mistake or another, but the less mistakes they can make, the better they can achieve their goals, or faster to survive the market, survive the competition. So I think with my experience at this stage, I like to share my experiences and my failures and lessons I learned with people of like-minded people with similar background, and who's also about to start a business on their own. So that's why I choose the consulting part. And also at this point of time, it's also a transitory period for me. I didn't seek for a re-election for the company, for the city I worked for, because of my family and among many other things. So these 2 years, I really want to take a break to kind of reflect what I have done in the past. And I'm still, I'm only in my 40s, so I imagine I still have a long way to go in terms of my career, my professional career. So take a break, recharge. There's a lot of things I still want to learn. So I'll take this opportunity to catch up with new technologies and see what would be my next chapter look like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea of what you're hoping to do next?
I don't know, but I think that exciting part is that you don't want to know like what you'll be like in next 2 years or 5 years. I mean, to me, knowing where I'm gonna be or what I'm gonna be in the next 5 years, that really scare me. So I always want to keep my options open. At the same time, also at this stage, waiting for an opportunity or finding an opportunity, not only you're good at, but also you're passionate about, is also more difficult than I just graduated from school. So it takes patience. It takes it takes time. You need to observe the market. That's why it's interesting, but also a very precious period for me to take a slower pace. And who knows? Maybe next month I'll jump into another startup.
That's good. So for the aspiring STEM entrepreneurs in high school and in the college age, what kind of advice would you give them if they're looking to, follow in sort of what the path you've taken so far?
There are many things I can talk about, but one thing I look back, I really value is the friendship I had from high school and from college. Those are the people I still, become like my lifelong friends. Especially in college, because you share the same major, and you're very likely going to go into the same industry. So not only relationship-wise, but also professionally, you're going to have a long-term partnership, or more likely with your college mates. So for that part is make the best out of your college life, work hard, study hard, but also go out with your friends. Really make the best out of in-person time. Forget about coronavirus. You didn't have the chance, but really have physical and personal interaction with your friends, and go have some fun, play some sports, work on a project together. I think that's really, sometimes you'll bring your own personality out, and also for you to understand, to get to know your friends better. And these people can be your life partner, right? I met my wife at college, right? And also my partners in business and many other things. So that's really a very valuable asset that you don't want to miss out on the opportunity.
Okay. And kind of as a final question, if you could go back in time and give yourself a piece of advice, what would it be?
I wish I could be like more balanced, more opportunities to try out other things like sports, like art, music, that kind of things. Well, I didn't have opportunity, but I can just I still had like I just gave them up, in a sense that I didn't value them much, those areas that much. So for that part, I wish I could have done more.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, thanks so much for your sharing today. I really appreciate it. Is there anything else you'd like to add or anything else you'd like to say?
It's a great honor. I really feel happy about you know, young people like you, Charlie, and even though I think everyone has, this new world has a lot of new issues, right? New challenges. But I think we work together and have that common aspiration, and we can definitely make it better for future generations.
Yeah, for sure.